Hello everyone, this is N-GameArts. We're continuing off where we left off, and this is part, I believe, 11 on my collection of 700 plus games. Now, I don't know what's going to happen here. We have a few games to go through here. It's not 60 plus, but we still have a bunch of collector's boxes and stuff like that to go through. Depending on how fast we go through this, I don't know if I'm going to make it one whole video or I'm going to have to split it into two because it's going to be too long, and usually those big old boxes are a little bit more wielder and it might take a little longer, so I might have to break it up in two parts. And if you're curious, I got hurt a little here right here. That, if you're wondering why that is that we recently got a new puppy. Her name is Maya. I might post some pictures so you can see her. She's a German Shepherd, and she's just adorable. And when they're puppies like that, they have little shark teeth. And she got me really good when we were playing around. So if you're wondering what happened there, that's what happened. So we don't want to linger too long. Hopefully we can get to this video, and I'm sorry if we won't. I'll have to provide one more video at the end of this. So let's move on. We have Moon Scars. This is for PlayStation 4. It's another Metrovania style game. I haven't played it. I heard some good things about it, but I don't know much about it. I just know it's another Metrovania, so that's right up my alley, so I picked it up. Moving on, we got another Metrovania. I don't know. I love Metrovanias, so I collect all of them. We have 8 Doors, Arum's Afterlife Adventure. I love the graphical aesthetic of this game, and it has a bit of a Mulan kind of feeling of it, where you're going into the afterlife to save your father or something like that. So it reminded me a little bit of Mulan, the Disney cartoon. So I went ahead and picked it up. It's only available for right now, for my understanding, is in the PAL region, so I picked it up. Moving on, we have another Metrovania, is Vernal Edge. It's, again, another Metrovania, so, again, I'm going to pick it up. It looks neat. I've heard some mixed things about it, but, again, I will always pick it up. So, right up my alley. Moving on, we have Dreams. This is Media Molecule, one of their last, not last games, because Sony hasn't closed them down, but I picked it up because it's right in my alley. Sadly enough, it's a great idea and a great concept where you can make your own games and everything like that. The only problem is that it's just they limit this for whatever reason to only on PlayStation 4. I don't even think it's available on PlayStation 5. Obviously, you can play it backwards compatible, but it seems like such a missed opportunity. It is a great engine, a great idea, and if you're somebody who's mostly dabbling in game development and you're wondering whether you should invest into it, because then you have to invest in a PC, program, researching data and all this other stuff, and assets and everything. It's all very time consuming and can be expensive depending on how the avenues you go. And if you only have a console and you're still new to the ideas of it, might try this, pick up, you can probably get a used copy pretty cheap by now and be able to check it out and get some ideas of basic game development. Obviously, it's not going to cover everything and do everything for you, and of course, I would imagine a mouse and keyboard would be easier than a controller, but then if you can't sit down and try to make a game out of this, something small, something simple, your odds of probably achieving anything on PC, sure, it might be if you got some ideas of how to use the controls, but if you don't have that and you haven't bought a PC and everything like that, look into this. That's what I'm just trying to get at. It's a good idea point is to see if you like game development, because there's some amazingly made stuff on this. I've played many games, varieties of it. Moving on, we have Dark Souls Trilogy set. This thing's so packed full because I got so much stuff packed into this. This comes with 3 Dark Souls. Let's see if I can even get this thing all open. Oh gosh. Let's see here. We might not even be able to put this all back up. Alright. Let's see here. That's Dark Souls 3. That could be any of the Dark Souls right there. And there we go. We got all the books and manuals and stuff like that and stuff. We got Dark Souls 3, Dark Souls 1, and Dark Souls 1 remaster or remake, and then Dark Souls 3. These are all the like complete editions and definitive editions and stuff like that, so you know you have everything on disc. This was a must pick up because I do enjoy the Dark Souls games. I'm not gonna even try to put this all up. Yeah, did I even show you the back of it? I like Dark Souls 1 and I like Dark Souls 2. I never beat Dark Souls 3, not because the game was too hard. I got stuck. And I don't necessarily know if that was a bug or I was just confused on where I needed to go. Dark Souls 3 felt a little bit more convoluted in terms of direction, and I actually really enjoyed Dark Souls 2. I hear a lot of people complain about it, saying it's the worst in the series. I beat it and I enjoyed it and I didn't really have much of an issue. I've played both the original one and the Scholar of the First Sin, like reorganization of the games, so I enjoyed both of them. Funny enough, my friend, he became obsessed with Dark Souls 1. Like, before he even beat it, he was like a level 180 or something like that. And then I got him Dark Souls 2 as a Christmas present, or a birthday present, can't quite remember. And he played Dark Souls 2, and he made sure, because in Dark Souls 2, you can, like, kill enemies, and eventually they'll stay permanently dead. I think you gotta kill them, like, 10 times, and eventually they'll stay permanently dead. He went through all of Dark Souls 2 and killed every single enemy in the game, and they never all respawn. He got to the very end of the game, beat the boss, and none of the other enemies could respawn. He became obsessed with the game. I recently picked him up Elden Ring, Bloodborne, and the Neo series, so hopefully he's been enjoying those. But, yep, I have all three of these. These are just phenomenally good games. I love them both, but Bloodborne is still my all-time favorite. I'm just going to set this over here to the left because there's a lot of stuff and I'm not going to try to pack that all up in this video. Moving on, we got Cosmic Star Heroine. This is a limited run. This is like heavily inspired from like something like Chrono Trigger and stuff in terms of its gameplay and sprite graphic work. It's interesting. It's a pretty good game. It's got some... It still had a... sorry. It's got some minor translation issues and stuff like that, but nothing a big deal. And again, I'm really happy to have it on my shelf. Moving on, we have Control Ultimate Edition. This does include the vast majority of content on the disc, which is extremely nice to see. And it's pretty much updated. I played this a little bit of it. I didn't get very far in the game. It's got some cool ideas. It's definitely got some ideas from another game, SCP Control or something like that. Is that what the call it is? It's where it's like a organization that hoards special items and monsters and stuff like that. Well, this definitely has some inspiration to that because there's like these items you can come across. So I think, what do they call them again? Objects of destruction or something like that, or objects of power, where it's got like world warping effects and stuff like that, and like stuff that can kill you if you look at it and stuff. It's crazy stuff like that. It's really cool. It seems really, really interesting, but I don't know, there's certain other moments when I was playing it that I was like, I don't know how... some of it's good, some of it's not that good. But anyway, glad to have it. It's a great collection to put on your shelf. If you like everything to be on a disc, there is a PS5 version. I don't know how that operates and how much that's a difference between the PS4 version. Moving on, we got Contra, the Anniversary Collection. This comes with several Contra games on one disc. This was another limited run physical release. I don't know, I wish they wasn't a limited run. I wish it was a wider release. And there's the Konami code, up, up, down, down, left, right, BA. Again, I'm not necessarily saying I'm a big Contra fan, but I love these collections, and I love older games getting re-released in any physical form of any generation. I mean, you can make more physical copies of older games. I know that a lot of people would say just get the ROMs, which that's fine if that's what you want to do, but me, I'm all about physical preservation, and I love it when older games, all older games, not just the popular ones, can get a new physical copy out in the world. So, glad I picked it up and added it to my shelf. This one that fascinated me is Connect Tank, which is like a puzzle kind of battle, like fighting battle puzzle game. It seemed really, really interesting. I actually got this copy pretty cheap. I don't have much of an opinion about it. I haven't really played it. I messed with it a little bit, and it looked really, really interesting. Definitely would like to play it. Even it says it supports 1 to 4 players, but sometimes that can be deceiving. But I don't know. Looks really, really cool. I hope to play it sometime. Moving on, we have the sequel to The Blob. This is The Blob 2, another really good, cutesy, family-friendly style game. I enjoyed the first one, and I enjoyed the second one. But again, the only problem with the Blob games is, for whatever reason, they put timers on the levels. To this day, I still don't know what purpose that served. It did nothing for the level. I don't understand it. I just think it was just a callback to the older days when games used to have timers, which was done because game development was still a learning process when they used to put timers in the old arcade games to prevent people from just leaving the arcade on and like go to the bathroom or something like that or eat so other people can play. That's why they put timers in older games. When now we don't have that. We have console games. We don't need timers anymore because I don't have to let somebody else play. I'm going to play. So, I mean, I guess you can do this for kids, I guess. But anyway, I don't know why they put timers on these games. It's a great opportunity. It's a big blunder on that. Really good games, though. Io the Clown. I won't lie. I won't say this is a FOMO buy, and I won't say this was a uneducated buy. This was a buy just because I was like, you know what? When I was a kid, I had a fear of clowns. Clowns terrified me when I was a kid. And, I mean, they're still scary now, but I mean, nowhere near as much as, like, wasps and other stuff and bills and, I mean, being an adult and have to be responsible. Oh, the horrors. The horrors. Like, being afraid of clowns is nothing compared to that stuff. But I bought it because I was like, you know what? Let's face my fears. Let's buy a clown game. And I just like how ridiculous it is. This is something you would have seen like back in PlayStation 2 era and stuff like that. These really, really weird games that just used to come out. I don't know. I'm happy to have it. Looks neat. Again, it wasn't a FOMO buy and it wasn't an educator buy. It was more of a buy like, you know what? Kudos to those developers for doing something really weird and having you play as a clown. I will buy your game. That's really it mounted up to. We have Dragon Fantasy, the Black Tome of Ice, which looks really interesting. I think it's another game that's like kind of inspired by Chrono Trigger. Don't have much of an opinion. I've yet to play it. It's a classic JRPG looking style game of sprite graphics, so looks really cool. Picked it up. It's another limited run. Next up, we have Deus Ex Mankind Divided Day 1 Edition. Don't have much of an opinion of this game. I played the first one. I haven't really messed with this one. The reason I didn't really mess with it is, like I said, when games got DLC and updates and all this other stuff, it makes me lose the interest in the game. And I really liked the first one, and I was really disappointed that that was like another one of those games that's only on PlayStation 3. The Ultimate Edition, I believe it was called. I'm really hoping since now... what's it called? Embracer Group has Deus Ex series. I was really expecting them just to do a quick cash grab. And fine, it's fine with me, cash grab of re-releasing 1 and 2 as one collection or as standalone copies for PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5. I'm still hoping for that. And it just seems like an easy opportunity to make a quick buck on your investment of buying Eidos Montreal. So... and Ian, I haven't had much of an opinion of it. The first game, I just really want to play it. I'm actually been holding off because I'm waiting to see if they will re-release the game. But Ian, it's cool. It's an interesting concept. Picked it up. Moving on, we got Destroy All Humans 2, the single player. This is the remake of the second one. Now, this one is a bit more updated compared to the PS5 release because this came out later compared to the PS5 version. Why this one you might want to get, though... of course, it's a more up-to-date, and it's going to probably have some bug fixes because it's important because this is THQ Nordic. Again, they release half-baked games of the release it now, fix it later mentality. But the only difference you're going to be missing is that this does not support any multiplayer. For some, that's probably not a big deal at all, but some of them may have picked it up for the multiplayer purposes only. So just keep that in mind. If you're a single-player person and you want maybe a physical copy that's a little bit more updated, because the PS5 version might be... I don't know how the disc version is on that. If that's pretty buggy, you might look into the PS4 version. So, glad I have it. It's on my shelf. Why not? I know my brother's a big fan of the Destroy All Human games. Moving on, we have, I think this is the first one. Yep, this is the first one of Destroy All Humans remake. Again, I think it's semi-open world. I don't know if it's a big world, but haven't really sat down and played it. I just picked it up because I got all of them pretty cheap. So, got it. Added to the shelf. Now, here's the next one. We have Destroy All Humans. This is THQ Nordic again. This is the original game before the remake. This is from Limited Run. I picked it up. I'm surprised we haven't got the sequel yet from Limited Run of the classic one. I picked that up too. I'll have all 4 games. Why not? So, I picked it up. I have it on my shelf because, again, even though I have the remake version, that doesn't mean anything to me. What matters to me is both having the remake and having the original one not untouched. Don't censor stuff, don't alter stuff. Just port the original one and have that as an option. And bonus more to having a physical copy to it. I will pick it up. Even though I have really no interest in your game, I will still buy retro games like this that get new physical copies to support older games getting new physical copies. So, I picked it up. There you go. Moving on, we got our next one. We got Grand Theft Auto 5. I've never played it. I have owned Grand Theft Auto 5 on PlayStation 3, I have it on PlayStation 4, and I have it on my PlayStation 5. And I bought them all used, and I've never popped them into my console. I have no idea what to enjoyment of this game. I'm not a fan of Grand Theft Auto. I've never cared for the series of the game. They're really, really boring games. I have no opinion of it. They generally work, if I recall, so that's better than Bethesda. At least their games work. But, again, it's open world. This is probably... Blackjack 2 left a massive damage to me and probably an open world. But Grand Theft Auto 3, at the time, I agree. I enjoyed Grand Theft Auto 3 because it was new. It's impressive that we could achieve that now in gaming, having this big open world. But I never beat Grand Theft Auto 3 on PlayStation 2. I never really enjoyed it. That's why I loved, like, Jak and Dexter. That's why when I played Jak 2 and I saw that they were just basically chasing trends... And now just not all the games want to be like a Grand Theft Auto style game. It's probably where my dislike for huge open world games come from. Is from Grand Theft Auto influencing other games that I love, and turning those into open worlds that are the ideas of it. I don't want to mean to linger on too much on this. I know a lot of people are obsessed with Grand Theft Auto. I have no idea why. There's nothing really amazing about their games. I don't find no enjoyment out of it. And I know people are obsessed with the sequel. The only reason I'm happy the sequel's finally coming out is because I could finally stop hearing people talk about it. And it's like, man, I won't lie. I had kind of hopes that it never got released. I was kind of like, you know what? People don't... I don't want it to come out. I don't want another games to have to be chasing trends and trying to be the next Grand Theft Auto 6 game. In the end, I have all three of them, or had. I don't have my PS3 version anymore, but I've never played it. I don't know if I'll ever play it. Moving on, this game really caught my attention. This is You Suck at Parking Complete Edition. This is like a different idea for a racing game. Instead of like racing around tracks, you have to race around and hurry up and get to this point and try to park your car. I thought that was interesting. This is the Complete Edition. It does come with a lot of the DLC and stuff like that on the disc. Sadly, it is only one player only, offline. There is no multiplayer. Offline. You can play multiplayer online. I don't know. Seemed really cool. I did mess with it. Again, it fully works offline with the numbers to the count. And I think it's really, really interesting. I've been wanting to mess around with it. Oh, boy. Dangerous Driving, and that includes Dangerous Driving Danger Zone 2. This is a really bad racing game. This is from a lot of the original creators of Burnout series. It's not good. Like, it's alright at best, but it has so much cliches. It's got so many other issues and problems. There's a rubber band affecting in this game. It's atrocious, and there's absolutely no music in this game. They expect you to connect your Spotify account, if I recall, to be able to have music as you play this game. That's just, wow. So, in the end, I just have it. No else to really say about it. We got next is Deadlight Director's Cut. This was only available, if I by my knowledge, as a PAL region. This is like a soul-scrolling adventure game where you're basically fighting zombies and stuff like that. The only thing that kept cracking me up every time I played it, they called the zombies the Shadows, and every time I heard them say the Shadows, I kept thinking of Babylon 5. Huge shout out to anybody who enjoys and watches Babylon 5 like I do. I have all the series of Babylon 5. I'm a big fan of the series, so anytime I hear the Shadows, I always think Babylon 5. So it's a good game. I definitely recommend it if you're interested in like a zombie side-scroller. Next up, we got Crosscode, a very good action top-down sprite RPG. It's a mixture of like action RPG, but with a little bit of a hint of environmental puzzle ideas of Legend of Zelda. A very, very good game. I really enjoyed this. I did beat it. I had a lot of fun. Story, it's got some good moments. It didn't go the direction I was hoping it was going to go, but it still was a decent story. There was supposed to be an expansion to the story, from my understanding, like a free DLC or a paid DLC, and we haven't heard anything about it from my understanding, but if I recall, the developers of this are based in Ukraine, so they maybe have more important things worrying about than finishing this game, and that's fully understandable, and I don't mind if they want to leave it off here and work on something new, or I hope that them and their families and everything like that are safe. That's more important than developing a game and providing an inclusion to the game that probably doesn't really need it. So in the end, I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend looking for it. I do believe this is a little bit more updated, just a little bit more updated in the PAL version, but not by much. So I recommend it. Moving on, we have another limited run. We got Dragon's Lair Trilogy. This comes with, like, I think 3 games on one disc, I think. Doesn't it? Yeah, it comes with Dragon's Lair, Space Ace, and Dragon's Lair 2, Time Warp. Now, these are, like, very arcadey style games. This was bought just because of the sheer novelty idea of it, where these games were arcade games with very high... This was an interesting time point in arcades where you popped in quarters and you had, like, usually 2 decisions, maybe 3, and one of those decisions is the correct decision and the other one will get you killed and you die, and then you pop more quarters to revive the character just to save the princess and stuff like that. It's got great animations and stuff like that. You probably could just watch a YouTube video that shows you all the correct paths or all the failure paths than actually buying the physical game. But again, I bought it, like I said, for the novelty reason of collecting it on my shelf. Oh boy. I know a lot of people already don't like me enough for these videos, but Elden Ring. Now, I'm not going to say Elden Ring's a bad game. It's definitely a still phenomenally good game compared to what gets out released in most open world games. But for me, Elden Ring is FromSoft's worst game in terms of the Souls genre. It's definitely the least one I'm going to ever come back to. Again, it's a huge open world game, so that immediately gets no points for me, or loses points for me, with me. But I do admit, the horse is amazing in this game. It's like one of the best controlling horses in recent time. But there's just so much that is left to be desired about this game, that the fact that that the game's called Elden Ring, but you could easily just take that name off and put Dark Souls 4 on this, and most people wouldn't even know the difference between it. And it's just, I don't know, I started noticing, like, level design was not as good, the environment was a little repetitive that's running through, the boss designs was not as good, compared to something like Bloodborne and Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, anyway. And just, I do agree that the fact that you include finally a dedicated jump button, that was a huge improvement, but, in the end, I don't know, it's just, for me, it's not the greatest, but it's not bad. Like I said, I will never probably play it again, and it's disappointing that the Game of the Year edition, or whatever, the complete edition, won't have the DLC on the disc. It will be on a redeem code. Huge blunder from Bandai Namco with that, and FromSoft. I'm blaming both of them for that. But keep in mind, if you are going to pick up the base vanilla version, the Elden Ring, the PS4 version, does run and work better than the PS5 version in terms of, like, frame rate and stuff like that. But there are still bugs and issues and certain items that are not available on the base vanilla version of the game. Nothing crucial, nothing like a weapon or like a key item that makes you progress, but you will open some chests that won't have an item in it at all. So that's if you're playing the base vanilla version of the game. So, in the end, I know some people are going to be really mad at me about that, but again, I like it. I did beat it. I put 143 hours into it, but probably exactly 110 of that was me running around doing nothing. But I still enjoyed the game, but I do enjoy Bloodborne the most. Moving on, we got Nujin Chronicles Rising. I haven't played it. It looks really good. We have the sequel coming out here soon, and I was hoping to have this beaten and done, ready for my save file for the second one, because apparently they might have my save file transfer over to that one, or some benefits or something like that. So I've been wanting to play it. Might need to hurry up and run through the game really quickly so I can prepare myself for the sequel. Looks really good though. Moving on, we have Dying Light Anniversary Edition. It's a fairly good open world zombie style game. I'm being honest with this. I I actually really enjoyed the zombie open world aspect of this game. I love playing this game on the highest difficulty. The zombies felt threatening. I love the traversal of the environment. But it actually, the worst part about the game was actually completing the game. When you got super strong in the game, zombies started feeling like a joke. Everything just felt like not as scary and as impactful to the story of the game and how much of a threat zombies were. So that's why I was like, I've been wanting to run to this game again, but this time barely upgrade any stats. Like be this base level 1 and not upgrade myself at all. And just keep the game constantly terrifying. That when I fight a zombie, it's a fight to the death. I didn't care for the expansion, whatever it's called. What is it? The Following. I didn't like the whole driving around with the car thing. That was awful. The story was better. I do admit the ending and story segments were a lot better than the first one's story and segments. But in my opinion, the open world aspect was better in the first part. In the end, I've been actually wanting to run to this game again. Like I said, play it on the highest difficulty, no upgrades, and have that fear, that feeling that one zombie could easily take me down. That was amazing when I first played it. Next one is Dustwind, The Last Resort. This is another like strategy top-down like game where I got this from Limited Run. Again, why did you tell me something's like a strategy, turn-based, tactical-based game? You're gonna get my attention immediately. Looks good. Haven't messed around with it. It may be like a heavily inspired from like BioShock or Wasteland, kind of the original Fallout. Anyway, and Wasteland, which Wasteland was another originally inspired by Fallout before Bethesda did whatever they did to Fallout. They butchered the series. But anyway, I'm happy to have this on my shelf and wanting to mess around with it. A good disappointment, we have Grip, which this is the Ultimate Edition. Sadly, this only has the content on a redeem code. None of there might be a few updates on the disc, but none of the DLC content is on the disc. Now, I've been told, can't confirm, the Xbox One version has the DLC's content on the disc, but the PS4 version doesn't. So, if you have an Xbox and you don't mind the fact you had to connect to the internet for that console, you might want to pick up the Xbox One version of this game. It's still a good game. I still enjoyed it. It's decent, so it's a good racing game, but just disappointing they blundered with the physical release. Grim Fandango Remastered. I think this is like a point-and-click adventure game, from my understanding. This is an old game, like really old. I've never played it, so I have no opinion of the game. But, again, I like when older games get new physical copies, so I am there immediately to pick a new copy on my shelf. Have never played it. Looks interesting, though. Was this special? No, this is from I Am 8-Bit. But, have it. Moving on, we got Uni, Road to the Mightiest Uni. I picked this one up. It's only available. It's only available in the American region, but it's only got Japanese voice acting. If I recall, this still does not. Or no, is that? Now I'm trying to think about it. There was Japanese somewhere in this game. I think if you go to the update history to the PS4 version, it's still on Japanese. I don't know if this has the English voice acting or not. I popped it in for a little bit. I might be getting all my information wrong. I remember popping it in and remember seeing some Japanese somewhere in the game. But, again, I'm happy to have it. I know absolutely nothing about it. There is a PS5 version. I don't know nothing about... I do know this runs at 30 frames per second, and I don't think there was any performance mode, so you might want to pick up the PS5 version if you're a big stickler about steady 60 frames per second. Now, I don't know if the PS5 version runs at 60 frames per second. I don't know these things. That's not something I really pay attention about in games. I don't know, this might be shocking, but I just play video games. Whether it's 30, whether it's 60, whether it's 4K, whether it's 1080p, whether it's 480p, it means nothing to me. I'm sure, yes, I prefer 60 frames per second if you can achieve it, but in the end, I just want to play a video game. So, picked it up. I need to mess around with it when I can. Moving on, we got Dragon's Dogma, Dark Arisen. This is the first release of the Dragon's Dogma game. This does include the expansion, Dark Arisen on disc. I haven't really played it. It's another open world kind of style game, so not to my interest. But my brother really enjoyed it. He said it was a really good game, so been wanting to mess around with it. Had not gotten very far in the game, so I had not much of an opinion about the game. But I have it. Moving on, we have Dragon Ball Xenoverse and Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. This is a PAL import physical copy, which comes with both games on 2 separate discs. Do not get your hopes up. These are still just a base vanilla version of the game, so there's no updates or DLC on the disc. It's just a collection, so I bought this because I like my collections. They have it all in one case. It just looks nicer on my shelf, and then I have to fill up all my shelves with a bunch of games. But I've seen a PS5 physical release for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, so maybe that one will be more updated and stuff, but I don't have much of an opinion on this physical copy. My friend, which he's almost like a brother. I've known him for almost like 30 years. He played the first one. He said he really liked it. So, I don't know. I got it. Moving on, we have Dragon Ball Fighter Z, which is a fairly decent fighting game. And it's got a pretty good story mode, too, at that. There is a PS5 version coming out here soon. I don't know if that comes with any of the content on disc. I really, really hope it does. I hope it's like a complete edition, but it doesn't say like complete edition. It just says PS5 Dragon Ball Fighter Z, so very unlikely. And Bandai Namco is not the best when it comes to releasing complete editions of physical copies. So don't get your hopes up. But again, it's a good fighting game. It's got a pretty good story mode in it. So for a Dragon Ball story, which I'm not the biggest in Dragon Ball, it's fairly good. I love the visual graphics and style of this game. It's a really good game. Moving on. This one was actually posted by one of my people on my Discord. They posted that they picked this game up recently, and they said it was actually pretty good. So I was like, you know what? It does look pretty good. I'll pick it up myself too. So huge shout out to that person who recently picked it up and added it to their collection, because you inspired me to check it out and add it to my collection. It's another roguelike style game. It's got this comic book theme kind of style, so I thought that would look really, really cool. So I picked it up. I know it does include some updates on disc. I don't know what exactly it all includes, but I messed around with it a little bit. Looks really, really good. So, picked it up. Thank you for that person who mentioned it. Moving on, we got Rise of the Tomb Raider, the 20th year celebration. It's a fairly good pickup. It's another Tomb Raider game. I did enjoy it. I did beat this one. This does include a lot of the updates and DLC on disc. I don't think it comes with the VR mode. I think this got a VR mode, but that's not on disc. I'm not sure on that. Don't quote me on that. But it's still a good game. It's still phenomenal. This is especially the first and second one are the best in the series. The third one's when stuff starts tapering off. But it's still a really good pickup. If you want everything on disc, this is a must pickup. Really good game. Better than Uncharted. Moving on, we got World of Horror, which is like a roguelike horror game, which graphically and aesthetically looks amazing. I'm very, very intrigued in this game, but I was told that the physical copy for the PlayStation 4 is extremely buggy, or they released a beta and or production version where you can see like the commands and stuff like that, the command center and stuff like that. You can still like see that stuff and everything. At least that's what I've been told. I've been wanting to mess around with it because, again, I'm a big fan of survival horror games and I love like roguelikes, so it's interesting to put them both together. I'm just worried that it might get repetitive because, roguelikes are generally designed to run through the game multiple times, so the scares might start wearing off. But looks really cool. Happy to have it. Now, there is a Switch version, I believe from N-GameArts. That might be the better version to get physically than the PS4 version. I haven't heard anything. I don't really know. But you might want to look into that one. A very, very good roguelite. This is Dead Cells Return to Castlevania Edition. This comes with a mass majority of the DLC and updates on disc. Doesn't have everything, which is highly disappointing, but this is a phenomenal physical copy. You really need to put this on your collection, especially if you like roguelikes. Lots of replay value, lots of content, lots to unlock, lots to play, and lots to see. Very, very good game. I really like this game a lot. I'm glad they at least did one more release to give it one complete edition of the game. It's just disappointing they didn't make sure it was 100% complete, but it's better than them not doing any physical release and left in what we had before. Because beforehand, the physical release was hugely outdated. So, glad this exists, and I'm glad to have it on my shelf. A very, very interesting game. Deadbolt, where you're going around hunting down your death, and you're going around hunting down dead people who haven't accepted death or something like that. And you can die by one shot, and they can die by one shot. And it's really cool because you're like sneaking and planning out your attack and where you need to begin and who to take out and when to take out. So it's a lot of trial and error. So some might not really like that. But I enjoyed it. It's another limited run physical copy, so I definitely picked it up and added it to my shelf. Moving on, a really good collection is Crisis Remastered Trilogy. This comes with 3 games on 1 disc. It comes with Crisis Remastered, Crisis 2 Remastered, and Crisis 3 Remastered. There are some minor bugs and hiccups between the games, so they're not the fully most updated, most polished versions of the game, but this is the first time the first game has ever had a physical copy release on consoles, so that's really, really cool. I've played it. The first one's definitely my least favorite. Then it would probably be the second one's my most favorite, and the third one is in the middle. It's got some good aspects, like they all kind of combine ideas, and some of them go too hard in one direction, the other one goes too hard in a different direction. They just need to tighten it up a little bit and have some more design of it. Like the upgrading system's like better in the third one, but the overall level design and stuff like that I think is better in the second one, but there's a lot more options and ideas in the first one. So it's interesting. They all try to do something a little different. So again, it's well worth to pick up on your shelf if you're especially if you're a fan of the Crisis and if you're interested in like some kind of first-person shooter style game. Moving on, we have Crypt of the Necrodancer. This includes the Amplified DLC. This does include all the DLC and stuff like that. I don't know if it comes with absolutely everything, but I have it. It's really good physical copy. I've been wanting to cover the game, but I did pop this game in, and I was disappointed to find out there is absolutely no way to disable the rhythm action in the game, because the game is a rhythm-based style game. So every time you move, you have to move at rhythm and attack at rhythm of the music. Some people would say disabling that ruins the point of the game, which I get it. That is the point of the game. But some people have disabilities. Some people may not be able to play the game at a rhythm. Some people don't even have rhythm and they're perfectly healthy and fine. I'm one of those people. I have absolutely no rhythm. But it's just, there's nothing wrong with providing people options. There's another the creators of this created another game on the Switch called The Cadence of Hyrule, and it works the same way as this game, where you move at rhythm. But they put an option to disable that rhythm in The Cadence of Hyrule: Legend of Zelda. It would have been really cool if that was on this physical copy. At least I didn't find no option to be able to disable it. If they was able to disable it, this probably could have been really up there, one of my most favorite roguelikes. But since I can't disable that rhythm, it's not that it's bad, it just it wears down on you really quickly, and you start getting a little annoyed to have to move at rhythm, and it's just something that's not for me. But I'm glad I have the physical copy, and I'm glad they included a lot of the content on disc. Next up, we have Darkest Dungeon Collector's Edition. Sadly, this is a PAL only for physical release. Now, you're going to want to pick this physical copy up if you're going to want the best version of Darkest Dungeon, because not only is this come with more DLC on the disc than the American version, but the American version, on disc, is unplayable. There is a bug on the disc that every time you boot up the game and try to boot it up, it crashes every single time. It's absolutely impossible to play the American version unless you update the physical disc. If you don't want, if you're like me who does not update games and play all your games completely offline with an unregistered account, that's not an option. So if the only option you have is playing Darkest Dungeon, the Collector's Edition. I've seen this fluctuate in price a lot. I have a feeling they only released this physical copy because people complain about the American release requiring you an internet connection to update. Again, the sequel just recently got announced, so I'm hopefully going to check it out. It's a very good roguelike style game where you have a band of people and it's got some dark themes and it's a really challenging game. Been really, really want to run through it, but I don't know why, I just haven't yet. Moving on, we got Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. It's a very good Crash Bandicoot game. I've seen a lot of people say it's the worst of the three, of the four. I don't know. It works. I like the graphics. I like the aesthetic and stuff like that. It all works good. I've enjoyed the game. It's got some minor bugs and hiccups. I've heard the game is insanely difficult if you want to 100% complete it, so you might not want to do that. So, I never 100% completed a Crash Bandicoot game. I've always just played them and just had fun and beat them. But I enjoyed it. It was fun. I mean, I didn't want it to be like better than the 3. I didn't expect it to be worse, and it didn't. So it's right there with them. Which moves on to that. We have the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, which includes 3 games on 1 disc. Now this is the 2 bonus levels included edition. You might want to pick this one up because this does include the 2 bonus levels on disc, and it does include a slew of updates on disc as well. I don't think it comes with absolutely everything on disc. I mean, the updates. You do have 1, 2, and 3 on disc, and you do have the 2 bonus levels on disc as well. So this is the best physical copy version if you want the best version available. There is a Switch version. I haven't picked that one up, so I don't know if that one includes the 2 bonus levels, but I'm sure it does. But again, this is a must pick up. Now, I've always liked Spyro more than Crash, but that doesn't mean I hate Crash. I have still played these games. I still love them to death. I don't care to 100% complete them. Now, I do enjoy completing Spyro, but Crash, I just enjoy playing them. And I still enjoy playing them, and I'm glad that we had the 4th one, which was still a good continuation of the game. Moving on, we got Danganronpa Trilogy. This was mostly a buy because I had a feeling this is going to become quite expensive in terms of collective. So, I picked it up. Don't have much of an opinion of the game. It's like a mystery solving game. You gotta figure out who's the murderer, and you gotta like do voting and try to vote who the person is and provide. It's sort of like the Marcus Phoenix game. Ace Phoenix, Ace Detective or whatever. I just recently covered. Now I can't even think of the game where you're a lawyer and you kind of like provide the evidence and stuff like that. That's what this game is. It's just more of an anime kind of style. Moving on. We got Ender Lilies, the Quietus of the Nights. This is a limited run physical copy. It's a fairly good Metroidvania. Not too It's not too like out of the box. It still follows the bread and butter of Metroidvania. There is a PAL, or is there a Japan physical copy? That physical copy does support English, so if you didn't pick up the limited run version, you might want to look into the Japan version. I don't know if there's any difference on physical disc. This is, I believe, the most updated physical copy there is available. I can't recall if there was any updates for this, but regardless, this is a good physical copy. I still liked it. It was a lot of fun. Moving on, we have Deathless Kiss Gear HD Edition, Operation Tokyo. Not really sure. I think it's like a top-down kind of mech-style game, but I don't know if it's a roguelite. I really don't know much about these games. I say these games because I have the other one right here, which is Deathless Gear Operation Asuka HD Edition. I don't know if these are like Vita games or PSP games or something like that, but these are limited run physical copies. I picked up both of them. It looks like a really interesting game. I just don't know why I haven't messed around with it enough. I think like you build your mech and stuff like that. Looks cool. Don't know why I haven't played any of them, but I have them. Moving on, we have Cuphead. This is an amazing physical copy because this does include the DLC stuff like that on disc. I don't know if there was an update. Now, there's, of course, updates on the disc, but I don't know if it has absolutely everything on disc. But I've yet to play it. I've heard many, many good things, that it's a good, like, bullet hell kind of style game, but it's hard as heck. So, been interested to buy it. So, definitely I'm happy that we got a physical copy of it. So, yay! Now, the last one to these stack, we have CTR, Crash Team Racing, Nitro Fuel. It's a good game. It's not that bad. It's a nice I'm sorry. It's a nice remake, remaster of the original Crash Team Racing game. Sadly, they did kind of abuse it a little bit. They started going like live service with it and stuff like that, and introducing loot boxes and skins and all this other stuff. Activision. So, Activision being Activision. But it's a good game. It's still fun. You can still play the campaign mode and everything like that. And I'm glad at least it exists. So, happy to have it. So that's the end of it. What are we at? We're nearly at 40 minutes. We really don't have time to go through all the boxes and stuff like that, because we still have a whole shelf of box games. So we're just going to have to make that another video. Sorry. I was really hoping to be done with this to be the last video, but it can't be helped. It's going to take too long to go through each box, pull them out, and show you guys the games and stuff like that. So thank you so much for sticking around for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't seen the other parts, I highly recommend them. I covered so many games. We are officially done with the standard cases. Now we will be going to the big boxes. So look forward to that. If you're still interested in it, I will maybe go ahead and maybe jump to my PS5, Switch, PS1 eventually here. I don't know if I'm going to be immediately, because this is exhausting to cover these videos every single day. But in the end, I hope you enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun. We'll go to the next part, and then we can start wrapping it up on the last video. So again, thank you so much for watching this. Now I'll see you guys in the next part. Bye-bye!